comments shall be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified by the board. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and note their name and municipality. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer rather than to individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. The speaker may speak once during each comment period. Please note, these sessions are designated for comments. To protect the confidentiality and privacy rights of all members of our community, the board encourages members of the public to direct any comments regarding particular individuals, such as students or district employees, privately to the superintendent or other appropriate administrators or board members, or to communicate with the board and superintendent privately by sending an email to psdschoolboard@pennridge.org. Questions raised and not answered may be followed up at a later time. So at this time, I'll open it up to public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment?
Sue Furlong, West Rock Hill Township. I was looking at the website today and I was having difficulty finding the minutes to some of the more recent meetings. As a technology thing, I know it's different from years past. It would be nice if there were some instructions on the webpage how to get to the minutes. Maybe they're not out there yet. I'm not, I don't know if I'm not getting to them or if they're not there in the first place. So I would like some instructions on where to find them, the steps to take with the new, whatever that is, I forget the name of it. The other thing is, I saw where there's a questionnaire that was sent out by the district concerning the selection of the next superintendent. To my knowledge, that only went out to people with emails here at the school, leaving out 75 to 65% of the population in Pennridge, which do not have children enrolled in this district. I think that needs to be addressed. We are part of the community. We do pay the bills. We would like to be included, run an ad, somehow do an outreach, okay? Just using the parents that are sent their emails in to the district, I don't think that's enough. You need to include the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Furlong. Any other comments from the public? Okay, we'll get started with our one item on the agenda tonight. I think as we progress through our one-to-one program at the high school, we've taken a look at the middle school to see what our technology currently is at the middle school and what we have looking into the future. And I'll ask Mrs. Miller to come up and lead that presentation.
Good evening. First of all, I want to say, I don't think most of you people are here to see me, because I don't usually draw a crowd like this. So I'll try and be as succinct as possible and answer all the questions that you might have. I almost feel like I'm at an Eagles pep rally or something. How to get that in there too, right? So thank you, Mr. Krause. So what I want to present tonight is the middle school technology plan for the 2018-19 school year. So we started last year to really take a good look at the middle schools. High school's in pretty good shape. The elementary schools are in pretty good shape. We were really lacking in the middle school. So last year, we developed a committee. We had a middle school technology committee, and it consisted of principals from the 3 middle schools, teachers, the librarians were there, the tech integrators, Dr. Scheid and myself. And just to give you a little brief background on what we came up with was we went with a Lenovo N23 device, which is, I'm going to call this step above, a Chromebook, and we purchased these for use by our 6th graders. So in 6th grade now, we have charging stations with the Lenovo Chromebooks in each of the homerooms, and the students use them throughout the day within that classroom. So this year, we're really just continuing. It's really just a continuation of that program that we kind of put in place last year. So when we had our meeting this year, and we've had 2 meetings now, as far as what we would do with moving forward into the 7th grade, the first thing we wanted was some feedback on the 6th grade pilot. So what we're hearing is that the device is meeting the needs of the students. A lot of what they do in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is web-based. So this is kind of a light laptop. Only has 4 gig of RAM, but it's performing very well for them in the 6th grade. The device is being successfully incorporated into the lessons. A lot of this has to do with our tech integrators. So it's actually being utilized within the lessons at this point. Some of the maybe things to work on are the physical movement of the devices. And by that I mean the pickup from like the cart, logging in and returning it to the charging station. That can take a couple minutes, which of course is, precious instruction time. So we're trying to figure out how we might be able to make that process a little bit smoother next year. We talked about maybe even changing the model from keeping the device in the classroom in semester 1 while the student gets used to actually having a device that they can utilize, to actually allowing them all-day possession in semester 2. So we're kind of still talking about that with the 6th graders as well. But all in all, the feedback that we were getting is that it's being successful and this device is meeting the needs of the students. So we were really happy to hear about that. And something else that I don't have on that slide is repairs are way down. So it's like the student has something I think they're a little bit more careful with now. In the 6th grade, there's a charging station, and the student, each class they go to, they're assigned that same computer every day. So we know who has the computer that class period, which is making a big difference. We have problems sometimes the kids like to pop the keys off, and I think we've only had 3 keys popped off. This whole, we've only sent back 6 of them, which is phenomenal. It's halfway through the school year. So they're really working well, and I think the kids are taking a little bit of pride in them. So just to give you a background on what we currently have at the middle school, so the 6th grade, there's a classroom set of, it's 30, some of the classrooms have 32 of these N23s in each homeroom, and they remain in those homerooms in the charging stations. And I'm calling it the homeroom, but it's really the core classes. So there's a classroom set, however we want to say it. So I'm saying it's in the homeroom, but it's really for the core classes to use. Then at the middle school level, there's 3 carts that they have as well. One of the carts is a Lenovo, it's the X140E, and there's 30 devices on that cart. They're going into their 4th year, and then we have some HPs, and they're kind of nearing the end of their life. We're just kind of limping along a little bit with them. They're kind of the bigger HP, the 647s that you guys are using up there, so they're starting to get pretty worn. And then there's 2 labs in each of the middle schools with the Lenovo desktop. And then we have these VDIs, which I'm hoping to get rid of the last 30 of them in the middle schools for next year. The libraries, we have 10 to 12 units in the libraries. And then there's STEM, and how can we forget, the wonderful STEM program that we have going now in the middle schools. So for each of the middle schools STEM program, we have 1 cart of dedicated laptops for the STEM program, and we have 1 lab that's dedicated to the STEM program. And then we were very lucky this year that we were able to roll out the Lenovo Yoga 370s to the teachers, so all the teachers now have a laptop. So that kind of completed last year, that completed our rollout of laptops for all the teachers throughout the district. So that's a little bit of what we have in each of the middle school. So now what we're proposing, just to keep going with our momentum in the 3 middle schools, is our goal is to increase student access to the device. I mean, we want them to be able to use it on a regular basis. We want to enhance the student experience for that. So 6th grade, we purchased those laptops in 2017-18, and they remain in the classrooms for daily use. So now what we're proposing for 7th grade is to purchase a set of the same. We feel that we hit a pretty good device there. The N23, approximately 200 in each school, but what we're looking for is a little different model for the 7th grade. So we'd like to assign it, a single device to a student for daily use. We're going to put charging stations in the homeroom to cut down. We're looking at maybe 2 charging stations rather than just 1 charging station to try and address the feedback that we're getting that there's too many kids at one time going into, one charging station. But we're also looking for the students then to return the device to the homeroom at the end of each day. So in other words, the student would pick it up at the beginning of the school day, and then they would return it to that same homeroom at the end of the school day. That's going to take some logistics, that's going to take some working with the principals about how that's really going to look at the end of the day to get those kids back into their homeroom. So there's still conversations going on about that as well, just kind of the way physically it would work. That leaves us then with the 8th grade with the laptop carts and the lab, pretty much exclusively to the 8th graders. So they're not quite there yet as far as getting the new devices, but they should have better access to the remaining devices in the school because both 6th and 7th grade will have their own device pretty much. Then we're also looking at purchasing an additional 35 laptops for each middle school for the STEM 2. No, STEM 2 has them now, or STEM 1 has them, Kathy? STEM 2 has a cart now, so this would be dedicated to STEM 1. So the 7th grade device, again, would be the Lenovo N23, same as in 6th grade. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what that is, it's an 11.5-inch touchscreen. It is convertible to tablet mode, so it's the touchscreen, it's the laptop, and it folds over. It's Windows 10. It's got a Celeron processor, dual core. What makes this different than a true Chromebook is there is a 128 gig SSD drive in it, and it has Windows on it. These would be charged and secured in their homeroom. So again, they're going to pick it up in the middle, or pick it up in the morning, keep it for the day, and return it at the end of the day. And again, we'll be putting the professional development in place for the beginning of the year as teachers integrate technology into their curriculum. And then I just listed a couple of the programs that the teachers have been pretty excited about to use with their kids, which is like a Microsoft Sway. The students are using OneNote, they're using Google Classroom, and News ELA. And that's just to name a few of them. So for the 7th grade, then the student would be assigned a laptop at the beginning of the year. So it's a one-to-one, but the one-to-one, the device would actually stay at the school and not be taken home. Student will keep that laptop with them for the entire day, be returned to the charging station at the end of the day. We'll have to have loaners on hand, so in case a unit is non-operational. Then a lot of this also has to do with educating the parents regarding expectations and responsibilities, so they know that their student will have a computer with them throughout the day, what the expectation is for that student, and what the responsibility is as far as keeping it safe for the day, basically. We had sent paperwork home to the 6th graders, so we'll just probably tweak that a little bit for the 7th grade parents as well. Still to be determined is the best method to protect the device. So we talked about either being able to carry a book bag around during school, because right now in the middle schools they can't take a book bag. So again, speaking with the principals about how we could modify what they're used to a little bit so that the students do have the computer with them all day. And then we also talked, and we've been looking at a laptop sleeve, either a sleeve or some type of a case. We had a meeting, like the pre-technology committee meeting, and we even talked about, making or doing a contest for a logo on a sleeve and getting them all, in the same place so that the students all looked kind of uniform, and that way we also know that it's a good sleeve. We talked about if we could charge for that sleeve, how that would look. So again, we're trying to, think out of the box just a little bit and see how we can make sure that these are protected. We love the idea if we could do some kind of little contest. We got all excited about that. We thought that would be fun, for the kids to design something. And then we also have to figure out who's going to administer the lending program, what that's going to look like as far as with the technology staff. Right now we have, the lending program at the high school, but that's one building. So we have the techs in one building. So now we're moving it out to, 3 different buildings, so we'll have to see what that looks like as well. Cost, and this is estimation only here, so these are really ballpark figures, but the N23 is about $300 for each computer, and we'd be ordering 600 units. Again, approximately 200 for each school. South is a little bit lower. So that's 180,000, again, just an estimate. And then the charging stations, figuring about $500 per unit, 36 units, because again, trying to do 2 in a classroom rather than 1 in a classroom. And we'll have to see how the pricing actually comes in for that. So I have 18,000 as an estimate for that. So the future then, to looking beyond this year and the future of technology in the middle schools, one of the things that we're looking at right now, we have Canvas Learning Management System at the high school. We're looking to expand that eventually into the middle school level. So this feeds right into expanding Canvas if they already have a device that they can utilize. You know, we might be able to expand that into the middle school. There's been, you know, pretty good, great response actually with it up at the high school. We have to consider additional technology staff for device support as we add more and more devices. Tech gets thinner and thinner. Not all of us get thinner and thinner, but we spread ourselves a little bit thinner. So, you know, that is something that we need to consider as well, additional technology staff for support. Then we can start to think maybe, you know, we get through another pilot here. Do we talk about the students taking their computers home just like they do at the high school? Do we go another year here where we're really piloting it just, you know, still in the school before the students are taking them home each night? And I think if Canvas becomes an integral part, we're going to have to look more at allowing them to take it home because they're going to be, you know, expected to utilize it more at home than maybe this next year here. So then in 2020, at the 8th grade, I'll be coming to you again to see if we can, you know, put forth the plan for the 8th grade devices to complete the middle school plan. So again, kind of a phasing in like we've done at the high school. So, and that's it. Questions?
I'm curious why we started with 6th up through 8th instead of 8th down through 6th, so that the students moving up would each get that experience.
So we had discussed that last year when we went with the 6th grade because we had that conversation. Do we go 6th or do we go 8th? So we were talking that 1 through 5, in K through 5 now with the infusion of the iPads, those students were coming through with more technology. So we didn't want to have them kind of skip a beat. So we had decided last year that to start with 6th grade, and now we'll go to 7th grade and 8th grade. Somebody gets kind of in the middle, you know, like kind of left out while we phase in. And the other thing that had gone into our decision was we were introducing STEM to 7th and 8th grade. So we figured they were getting, you know, a pretty nice technology boost, you know, on a daily basis in 7th and 8th grade.
So the 6th graders this year will get the 7th grade ones that you're talking about for next year, and then the new 6th graders coming in will get the ones the 6th graders used this year?
Correct.
Right? So we're not going to be, they're not going to be keeping them through like the high school?
Not at this point, correct.
Okay, and then on the agenda, actually, after this for curriculum, we are talking about starting Canvas for the middle school next year.
Mhm.
So you're saying for that first year, they wouldn't bring them home, but then the second year that they're in Canvas, they would bring them home?
That's probably the way that we're going at this point, yes.
Okay, so then how long of a replacement plan are you looking at for, or is it like every 5 years you'll repurchase the 6th grade laptops? You know, how, or?
So that's a little bit of an unknown right now because we're not quite sure how these are going to like weather through because they are a lower end device. They're not an upper end device. They are a lower end device. So I don't know if it's going to be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We're not 100% sure how these will weather. So far we're doing really good with them, but it's in the first year. So I think we have to kind of feel our way a little bit to see. I don't know if it'll only be a 3-year at that point. I just don't know how this is going or how these are going to really hold up. So that's kind of TBD.
So, and I guess then if we do start letting them bring them home, then we're going to get back into that insurance issue that we have at the high school?
Actually, the insurance on these devices, since they're only a $300 device, it's not the same thing as, you know, one of the upper end devices. So we have depot service on these right now, so we pay to actually send them out for repair. So it's a little bit different. It's like, I think it's $16 a device. So it's much lower than, you know, the upper end device, or the little higher end device, I should say.
Okay, thank you.
I have some questions. So the $16 insurance, right now the district is paying that?
Correct. It's really, it's not an insurance, it's a depot, so it's really just to send it out, meaning if something happens to it, we send it out. It's not really the ADP that we have for the one-to-one.
So you pay only when you send it out?
Correct.
You're not paying insurance, and then it's only $16?
It's $16 per unit, correct, for depot service. So it goes out to be repaired.
So you're saying, like, I don't understand what depot service is.
It means that, so for the one-to-one, we have an ADP, which is accidental damage. So the depot service is, we have to package it up, send it out. We don't have like, we actually mail it back to Lenovo to be fixed, and then it comes back, but it has nothing to do with accidental damage. Was it in warranty, wasn't it in warranty? So it's just fixing beyond the warranty period.
And so we were charged whatever it costs to fix it? Or it's a $16 flat rate?
It's the $16 flat rate.
Regardless of the problem?
Covers it, correct.
Okay. You're talking about the 7th graders keeping them throughout the day and carrying around and then turning them in. So would the 6th graders do the same, or the 6th graders would still just keep them in there? Just change each class?
The 6th graders are scheduled a little bit different, and they're like in a little bit different situation as far as like the wing that they live in, so to speak. Plus we've had conversations about the maturity of the 6th grader. So at least for the beginning of the semester 1, they would stay in their classrooms. And then, as I put in one of the slides that we could talk about, maybe in semester 2, they might earn the right to carry it around if they're mature enough, if the teacher feels like they can handle it, so to speak. If not, they would just stay in the classroom.
And then how is there, if the kids are going back, I guess this is part of the logistics we were talking about, is like, how do we know that if they're going back to their homeroom that they've actually turned it in? So
the teacher would have to check off that it's been
every
turned
person?
in, correct.
Yeah. So that could
And
be,
you should be able to see in the charging station that, it's in there. Because it would go into the same slot every night. So in other words, if slot 5 is empty, we just say, oh, that's Johnny, where's your computer?
okay. And then the next day, if they take it home and then they forget it the next day,
Then we would have to, exactly.
With all of
That's why we're talking about keeping it in, keeping it here.
And so there wasn't any consideration given to letting them take it home this year, 7th graders?
We did have that conversation, but we really felt that it was, probably better all the way around if we could just keep it internal.
Okay, and then if we're getting new laptop carts, right, for the STEM class, really more for the 8th graders to use, right, for the STEM classes you were saying, so are we then, if next year we go to getting these computers for the 8th graders, everyone will have one. What's going to happen with all of the carts that we have throughout the middle school?
So the STEM carts are a higher level computer than the N23 because they're doing more of a CAD design on, in STEM. So a lot of their programs won't run on the N23s. So that's why we have the carts that are like dedicated just to STEM so that they can run like a little higher end program.
So that would stay that way? They would have special computers then for the...
Correct.
Okay, and then how about the other carts? Because you said all the other carts that are in the middle schools will be dedicated for the 8th graders. I mean, are they going to be, then the ones that are handed out to students?
You mean after the
Yeah,
8th graders get them?
Right.
So then if they're still viable, they'll trickle down into the elementaries.
Oh,
We'll
okay, so
trickle
that
them
middle
down.
school will get new ones again, and then they would just be sent out to be used in the months.
Correct.
All right, thank you, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller.
Very good, thank you.
So is this a motion on our next meeting, or it'll just be part of the budget?
I'll just be one of
Part of the budget.
Yeah. Great. So that's our one agenda item. I'll open it up for public comment before we close the technology committee meeting. Mrs. Furlong?
Sue Furlong, West Rockhill Township, you said you're going to put, to vote on this to be part of the budget. I think it would be very interesting. She said that she needs additional staff for device support. Nobody asked her, how many people, what kind of salary range are these people in? You have no idea what the cost is. Okay, people usually cost more than machines. And you have to have them come back every year. And the machines, you know, you'll keep that machine for 3 years, so it's one expenditure spread out over 3 years. When you hire people, you pay them every year. You need to know that cost before you decide just to willy-nilly throw it in the pot. You didn't say anything at all about the cost and the effort to train the teachers or to incorporate the text. Now, maybe that's going to be in your curriculum meeting, but that's another cost that I would believe would be an annual cost. Nothing was said about that. How can you vote when you don't know what your cost is? And I would actually ask her or somebody to sit down and do a 5-year rollover plan. Make some reasonable assumptions. We believe these will last at least 3 years. So we will have to roll over and get this many for the 7th grade, this many for the 8th grade, this many for the 6th grade, this many for this and that cart. And get yourself some idea, long term, and also the staff, like I said, they come back every year. What is the cost of this program? You have no idea. You're just going to roll and vote for it to be in the budget, and I don't think you have any idea of your total short-term costs, and I know you don't have any idea for your long-term costs, and that's not the way to run the district.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? All right, we'll close the technology committee meeting.
Okay, we're going to call the curriculum committee meeting to order. So we will start with public comment. We have the same parameters as Mr. Krause read at the beginning of the meeting. Any public comment for curriculum? Okay, so seeing and hearing none, we will move to our first. Well, actually, before we do that, I just wanted to address the comment from